Alright guys, so today we're going to be talking about the newest update to Modern Warfare 2, and that's the first of probably many raids. And so, if you know what the raid is, how it works, how you can play it, what you have to do, what you'll get from it, that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So let me start out by saying that the first thing you have to do to get this raid is one of three objectives. Either extract on the 4th helicopter in DMZ with some amount of cash, I want to say it's 30 or 60k. Another way is within the actual raid, look at your daily challenges and you can do those, not multiplayer challenges or Warzone challenges, but within the raid. For me, for example, they were get kills with the sentry gun or destroy SAM sites and stuff like that within the co-op missions. The multiplayer ones do not count. I tried that. Even if you do all of the bonus ones after you finish the initial 3, you will not get a raid token or a raid key at all. The third and probably easiest way is to place top 20 in Warzone. And you can do exactly what I did if your skill-based matchmaking is incredibly hard, which is just hide in a bush for the whole game. Go play on your phone until you get top 20, and then you're good to go. You have a week to complete the raid with unlimited tries. Now, what actually is the raid? What the hell do you do? What objectives will you be put up against? All of that good stuff. So you and 2 of your friends, it is mandatory that you have 2 other people, by the way, will go in, and this is essentially split into what I would call 3 parts. So the part you're seeing now, and you've seen for the majority of the videos, what I call the puzzle part. This is the second part of the raid, the middle, and I'll get into that in a second, but let me start from the beginning. So this is the combat part. They just put you against a bunch of enemies just to kind of introduce you, because this is the first one, to the difficulty of the raid, and just letting you get adjusted overall to how raids work in general. From the combat stage, what I call that first stage, you then enter the puzzle stage. It has you looking at cameras and typing in codes into a computer to introduce you to that mechanic. And then after that, you go down to that water part you saw earlier, where you have to navigate this underwater tunnels, and you have a oxygen tank that you have to pass between the players as you try to get out. You hit dead ends, and you have to balance being able to explore at a decent rate and constantly giving each other oxygen so that you obviously don't drown, as well as some traps. Once you get through that, which is a good portion of the raid, you get to the third and final stage, which is where they combine the puzzle and the combat, right? They take kind of that pre-knowledge of how things are going to work and what enemy types and just kind of how you need to play. Because if you're familiar with Call of Duty or really anything, you have very different scaling levels of difficulty within the game, right? If you go play the campaign, it's real easy on the lower difficulties. You fly through it. You're going to play that very differently than you're playing co-op. Even though they're both against bots, both against AI, the scaling of the difficulty is just drastically different. So they kind of use that first stage to set you up and prepare you for the real part of the raid in the third stage. In this stage, one person will be tasked with staying at a computer and reading off the code and symbols and letters and numbers that come across the screen, while 2 other people go to these big screens and have these letters and numbers flash across the screen with corresponding inputs for the code back at the main computer. So one player has to read out the code options, and the other 2 players, while fighting off waves of enemies, have to decipher the code from the options they're given. You put them in an order, you do that 3 times, then you have to defend an area for 4 or 5 minutes, and that's the first raid. It's relatively simple, and again, I think the first half of it is just introducing you to the mechanics and how the raid works overall. If there's 1 per season, they just announced that it's going to be 5 seasons, so there'll be 4 more, and this works as a good tutorial for the raids, and they can scale up in difficulty from here, because that's the only critique I would have. It's decent, it was good fun. I'm not going to play it on veteran mode because I don't hate myself. The only things I would critique in this raid overall are the rewards you get and kind of the level of difficulty. I think that difficulty can be pumped up. Again, it was the first one, but just a little bit. If this is a 3 out of 5 on the difficulty scale, maybe we can go to a 3.5. It can be just a little bit harder. I would like to fail maybe once or twice doing it. Aside from being stupid and not noticing things that were incredibly obvious, we should not have died a single time here, and we only did really fail once. Other than that, it's the progression that's the problem, and just the unlocks you get. This isn't worth it for the XP. You're only going to do this once, really, because the rewards aren't that great. You get the gas skin, the base skin. If you want the ghillie skin, you have to pay for that with real money. And then it's just like emblems and calling cards and weapon blueprints and all that stuff that, personally, I don't care about at all. So I have no reason to replay this. So those rewards, again, like I was saying with DMZ, could be somewhat exclusive to this mode and make them cool. Like the skin is a good reward. Add more stuff like that, or variants for the skins that are already in the game. Stuff like that that's actually meaningful. But overall, like I said, I think this was a positive update. It was enjoyable. I had no clue how Call of Duty was going to do a raid, because when I hear raid, I think games like Destiny and stuff like that. But for the most part, I feel like it worked out pretty well. This was an enjoyable update. But you guys let me know what you think of the first raid down in the comments below. If you loved it, if you hated it, if you didn't know how to get into it until now, well, now you know. And I'll see you guys on the next one.